They only work when you push forward. They do not work when you pull back. And I see this a lot from girls because they're used to using a nail file. They'll sit there and they will hold it and they'll be going like this. That does not work. You might as well rub it against a rock. Okay? In order for the teeth on here, these all have little tiny teeth, to work, you got to push forward with the file. Now I'm going to use a much smaller file so I can illustrate how you push forward and along here. Half round. So when you're filing, you're going to move forward and along the edge. Forward and along the edge. Okay? You are not going to file in one spot. If you file in one spot like this, you're going to end up with a groove right there. So you file forward and along the edge. That will smooth out any imperfections. The idea of filing is to get rid of all the saw marks that are in the edge, because you will have these little lines on the edge from sawing. Any imperfections in the edge. Now if I look at this is the one design I cut out. This point here is a little different than this point. So I want to try to make them the same. So what I'm going to probably do is I'm going to come in here and I'm going to file the edge of that to try to get that as close to the other side as possible. So I'm going to file that, and you can actually, I think even with the camera here, you could see like these little tiny filings. You can see it's removing metal. It's removing material. All right, that's little filings of copper. And I'm only pushing forward. If you got an inside corner like this, I start at the corner, I push out and forward and out along that edge, out of that corner, like that. And that'll keep that corner nice and crisp. And then I'm going to flip it, do the same thing here. And again, this is to get rid of all the imperfections and saw marks. Now this inside shape, some of you guys have not cut that out yet. And you're going to notice I have a small hole here. That hole, when you get to that point, you look up here, that hole is put in there with this hole punch. There are actually 2 hole punches up there. Either one will work. But that's what this hole is put in there with. I usually hold it by this handle. And when you get to this point, you can come up and see me if you're struggling, because I'll help you through the hole punch part. It's easier for me to actually do this one-on-one. But you take this, you hold on to it so that I can pivot this back and forth. I take this, I set it inside here. I set it where I want it. I want it as close to the line but without touching it. I squeeze down on it like this. So I set it on the table usually. Do not put it against your stomach. If you put it against your stomach, you're going to squeeze down. This is going to pinch your stomach. It could hurt. Do not ever try to hole punch like this. If you're having trouble, don't do this. Okay? Because if you do, when you go to punch, your knuckles are going to crush together. And that's going to hurt. And if your finger's up in here, you're going to pinch it against this metal. So you never want to do it that way. If you can't squeeze down on it, don't think you're too weak. Sometimes this is so wide your hands can't get around it. Ask for help. Somebody will help you punch it. I can help you punch it. Once you get that hole punched in there, let me punch a hole just so I can show you how to take it out too. I don't want to punch a hole now. I don't want more than one hole. You should only have one hole in there, because then you're going to feed it in. You're going to take it, squeeze down on it, that's going to punch it. Now you take both handles over top of the table, and then you pop it off like that, and it'll come off. You just pop it open. You can't sit there and try. If I'm sitting here like this and I punch the hole, I see people all the time trying to work it off like this. You can't. There's a little burr there that's caused. It's really hard to get off that way. It's much easier. Just pop it off like that. Once you have that, take your saw frame, the saw blade, open the bottom. Oh, top of that's loose too. I usually open the bottom for this one because it's much easier for me to do. I slide this on there. Paper side up. So the paper should be facing up towards the top. Take it, compress it as normal. Now when I set this down on my bench pin, my saw blade is now inside that shape and I can cut out to the line and cut that shape out. So, today, I really want to get to the point where we're sawing that piercing and filing edges. Things you have to do first is you have to cut out both pieces, both shapes. And then you're going to cut the hole or the piercing. Once those two are done, then you're ready to file. This process that I'm teaching you is very similar with every single jewelry project. There's just other things sprinkled in there if you're doing certain techniques like texture or whatever, stone settings, as you get more complex. You're always going to design. Once you design, you always get your metal. Once you get your metal, you're going to always cut. You're going to always saw. Anytime you're doing anything with sheet metal, it's pretty much the same process every time. Then you're going to file the edges. Okay, after you're done sawing, the piercings, all that stuff. Okay, so you do this stuff typically in the same order. So it's good to make sure that you see them. A couple of other things I just need to make sure you know. Right now, let me test them right now because I glued them this morning. No, they're not quite ready. So do not use the things that are marked do not use. They've got to set up yet. Okay? I had to glue them this morning. They all popped just about at the same time, pretty much, except for that one. That one had been off. So if you see a sign, do not use, please don't use that bench pin area. Try to move to another area to saw if you have to saw. Any questions for me? Thank you guys. Get your stuff out. I know that was a little bit lengthy. It is good to see a nice, wonderful, full crowd. You need another one? Okay. No problem. All right, let me shut this thing off.